Taimal, the serene spider, walked into the cell, his steps lighter than the touch of a feather, quieter than the flight of an Astvarian owl, as graceful as the sunset on Te'au itself. His purple eyes, locked onto the prisoner, chained to the wall. A metal mask encircled the prisoner's jaw so he could not use them to open his own wrist and end his own life. The alien creature, so similar yet so different from a Tarelian, stirred, his yellow eyes looking onto those of a spider. When they had first met, there had been hate there. Now there was only quiet despair.
Your culture is fascinating,
The spider said in a quiet, measured tone.
It shares elements with cultures I know already. Survival of the fittest and love of the hunt. Admirable traits in a warrior species.
His voice grew darker.
Your obsession with your goddess, the scorekeeper, and your acceptance of slavery are less admirable.
The defeated warrior remained silent, yet he still looked the spider directly in the eye.
Your devotion, your faith, is an open gate to your soul, Trandoshan. My siblings of water and I have faced fanatics far more dangerous and far more zealous than you and your brethren. And for all their xenophobia, their faith was a gate we used to manipulate them and turn them into our tools.
He stepped closer, each step seemingly quieter than the last.
Small contradictions that were used to spark civil wars, their holy words translated into local dialects, reinterpreted to support our philosophy, their blind desire to appease their dead god king, a tool of manipulation.
He kneeled before the prisoner.
The same will happen to you and your kind.
He slowly reached out and traced his fingers along the metal mask, his eyes never leaving those of a warrior. And, as defeated the Trandoshan was, as consumed by despair as he had become, there was a spark there, a small one, but one the spider could exploit.
I offer you a chance to recover your score and regain your freedom, Vrozak of the Reavers.
He whispered sweetly. The old Trandoshan twitched, if only slightly. I've been captured alive, spider, Vrozak said in a defeated tone. My score is gone.
It can be restored if you kill the one who captured you.
The Watercast's voice was sweeter than honey.
I can offer you just that. Master Shaper Zarhud himself, leader of the Kroot who overwhelmed your camp, has already agreed to it. If you give me what I want, he will face you in a duel. 1-on-1. A hunter against a hunter.
Vrozak stirred in his restraints, the small spark transforming into the flame of a candle. Taimal's smile expanded unnaturally, taking up too much of a Tau's face, a reminder of how unnatural the expression truly was.
You will either walk free or die with honor, like a true hunter, redeemed in the eyes of your goddess.
He leaned in even closer, almost whispering into Vrozak's ear.
You just need to tell me what I want to know.
Wrozak's muscles tensed, his eyes showing that he was thinking hard. He had been loyal for a very long time, but loyalty to the deity once again proved stronger than loyalty to any individual. What do you want to know? Wrozak finally said, straightening up, new determination in his eyes.
Tell me about his bases. We already have general knowledge, but we need details.
The serene spider's purple eyes glinted in the cell's light.
Tell me about Rune and Scarif.
Ashenblade was standing alone in the room, his eyes glued to the screen, incapable of turning away. Fireblade. Auni On, honorable seeker of the ethereal caste, walked in, yet Ashenblade didn't turn to greet him. His eyes remained locked on the screen. Lifesight wasn't insulted, for he saw what Ashenblade saw. He walked over and stopped beside the warrior. Silence stretched for a few more seconds before Torvak reached out and placed a hand on the screen. "My son," he whispered, voice shaking, his composure shattering. "My boy is alive." A frozen image of an interview with Strongstrike filled the screen. He was there, wounded but alive. "When I heard that Furious Ned was attacked," Ashenblade said in a quiet voice, one that didn't fit him at all, "I feared the worst. I feared that my son was lost. And now I'm standing here, kilometers above the planet's surface, further than any Tau has ever been from our homeworld, and my son is right here." He shook his head. "Normally, I would need to wait days or weeks for the report. Here, the messages travel almost instantly across unimaginable distances." "Your son passed a trial of fire," the ethereal said quietly. "He did it in the old way, in battle. He is no longer a boy, brother of fire. He is a man, a warrior." He reached out and placed a hand on the warrior's shoulder. "Be proud." Torvak shook his head. "I was always proud of him," he said quietly, though I didn't say that out loud, fearing my pride would infect him with arrogance. He took a big breath. "I know tradition states we share the yoke of parenthood as one, that we mustn't show favor, regardless of blood. I think human customs are rubbing off on me, mighty Aun." He smiled as he finally turned to Lifesight. The ethereal was neither angry nor disappointed. He was smiling. "As our customs pass on to them, so do theirs pass on to us," he stated with confidence. "That is the way of a Tau, brother of fire." He made a sign of united destiny. We walk together on the one path, and even as the rhythm of our endless march changes, it still rings out in unison. As you say, wise seeker. Ashenblade turned to him and made a sign of contrition. Please, forgive me my rudeness, Lifesight made a sign of a sudden end to the storm. No apologies needed. He reassured him. You lost your bondmates in a tragedy, and you seek to protect the children born of that union. He made a sign of balanced scales. Wisdom is the balance between knowledge and empathy. This balance is hard to find, and even the Aun work hard to achieve it. He slowly moved toward the window overlooking Kursand. There are ways to find this balance. Most of my cast do it through art, all types of it. Art of a brush, chisel, blade, ward. He stopped, his eyes locked onto the endless ocean of steel and glass that was the Republic City. I couldn't find balance in any of those. Ashenblade listened, unsure what to think. It was the first time he had ever heard an ethereal speak like this. They were the guiding light of a Tau Va, of civilization and reason itself. And yet, he heard a quiet admission of failure in Lifesight's voice. I could never lead our people in one of the celestial spires, but I found my place on the path, the one path, as a seeker. He turned back to Torvak, smiling, making the sign of a wandering sage finding a lost traveler. You were lost for a very long time, brother of fire. So much grief, so much pain, so much rage. You put it to good use, but though you walked in the rhythm of others, you were walking blind. He made a sign of a lost traveler. But it is my role as a seeker to direct you onto the right path. He walked closer, the Coruscant sun engulfing his figure in golden light. That is one of the reasons I chose you as part of this council. I hope to learn more of you, to help you find your way back. Ashenblade kneeled before the Seeker's wisdom and made the sign of an unworthy student. I shall walk where your light guides me, he proclaimed. No, brother, Lifesight said, shaking his head. You won't. My light, while bright, cannot reveal your full path, only its beginning. He moved closer. The Empire will soon need warriors of your skill and talent. Young warriors need a teacher, and commanders need someone who will be a voice of wisdom and caution. The Seeker knelt before Ashenblade, making the sign of two teachers. We are alike in this regard. We both care for our students. Your pupil, True Strike, will need your wisdom. Your son, Strong Strike, will need your guidance. And the Empire, the Commonwealth, will need your strength. But I am lost, wise seeker. Torvak tried to protest. How can one who is lost guide others? We often forget that our students often become far greater than ourselves. They shall be the light that reveals the path, and you will know what to look for." He made a sign of a lantern, revealing the way. "You will find it, you will walk it together, and you will achieve great things. I am sure of it." The Seeker rose, a gentle smile still on his face. "Come, the rest of our council awaits," Lifesight said, extending a hand. Ashenblade remained kneeling for a few more seconds, absorbing the wisdom of a great Aun before nodding and rising. He knew what he was going to do, but before that, there was the matter of a council. They walked out into the main chamber of the embassy. All members of the council were already present. He had come to know them better than expected over the past month. This mission did not involve much direct threat to warriors or pilots, but their insight and opinions were important. Not only for the establishment of the embassy on Coruscant, but for shaping the Tau Empire's position in local politics. One more person was waiting for them, the highest-ranking member of a Watercast diplomatic contingent sent from the Empire to fill new positions in the embassy. His name was Emar Oi, Messenger of Light. He was a Poro, and an old one at that, almost ancient. Ashenblade recognized the characteristic lines of rejuvenation treatments. Some believed he would become the head ambassador to the Republic, but that was not the case. He was slow and carried the atmosphere of a friendly grandfather. He would not be taken seriously enough in the Senate, even though the old Tau was far more dangerous than his appearance suggested. Torvak wasn't surprised when Silent Tide was officially promoted to the rank of Poro and given the role of head ambassador to the Republic. The ancient Watercast envoy, on the other hand, was officially the High Cultural Attaché, but that was only a mask. He walked up to the old man, who looked at him with a dark smile. "Ah, Fireblade." Messenger of Light's eyes glimmered with dark intensity. "It's good to see you again." "100 Eyes," Ashenblade replied, making the sign of unpleasant surprise. "I see you still stalk the shadows." The old Watercast laughed. "Useless is the light of a messenger if he does not carry it into the darkness." Dane Marek leaned back and whistled. "I sense a common history there." Ashenblade scoffed. "We met, though briefly. I was sent to the aftermath of a civil war on Sarkassa. This old gentleman explained exactly what happened." "Ah, yes. Sarkassa. A mining world of the Imperium. One of my best works, if I say so myself." The ancient Tau giggled, turning to gaze upon Dane with his silver eyes. "The Gwella there crippled their own defenses and government to such a degree that our takeover was quick and almost entirely bloodless." The former inquisitorial stormtrooper stiffened slightly. "So, you were responsible for Sarkassa. I remember reading the reports. I served in the Inquisition then. My master was very displeased with your success. Messenger of Light let out another dark chuckle. I'm glad the Holy Inquisition saw my work as an irritation. I only fear that I won't find capable players in this galaxy. Don't sell the locals short, Silent Tide said with certainty. The Republic is older than the Imperium of Man, far older. It would not have endured if there were no capable people among those who serve it. That's still hard to believe, Dane muttered, shaking his head. But then again, this galaxy seems a bit friendlier than our own. Seems like they were lucky.
Or that they killed all threats in the distant past,
Harkosh said in a deep baritone.
Their warriors of today are weak, but there is an echo of strength there.
A distant echo, Ashenblade said, crossing his arms. Despite possessing well over 1 million worlds, they somehow maintain extremely limited military forces. There is no standardization throughout the Republic. Each system has its own military and fleet, with no cohesion regarding doctrine, structure, or equipment. The Imperium of Man seems organized by comparison. True. While the PDF was a mixed bunch between worlds, the Imperium did demand some level of standardization between guard units. Not much, but they at least pretended it existed. Dane agreed and huffed. For all the talk about the unity in the Republic, when it comes to military matters, everyone is out for themselves. Same for what passes as the Republic fleet, Far Horizon added, stepping forward. Judicial forces lack any real cohesion, and they use very small vessels, many of which are incredibly inefficient. Like that dreadnought heavy cruiser. Forgemind chuckled. Did you know they need 16,000 men to crew that thing?
What?
Dane looked genuinely shocked.
That tiny ship?
The very same, Forgemind said, shaking his head. I mean, I thought ships of the Imperium had massive crews, but this is a little excessive. He looked over the members of the council. If not for the limitations of our FTL drives, the Tau Empire would possess the most potent military force in the galaxy. Indeed, Lifesight spoke, drawing everyone's attention. And I am sure that more and more of the galaxy is beginning to understand that fact. The Battle of Furious Net proved to them that we are not defenseless. But what comes next will prove the military might of the entire Commonwealth.
Will we declare war against the Hutts?
Lina asked quietly, finally speaking up.
We do have the recording of the meeting between the Hutts. The Commonwealth has a casus belli.
Sadly, this alone won't be proof enough, Silent Tide said, shaking her head. The Republic has a strong anti-war sentiment. Even when their member worlds are under attack, they are slow to act. Usually they send the Jedi to deal with a threat, and only when the Jedi are incapable of achieving victory on their own do they deploy their forces. The last notable deployment was during the Inchuri Uprising 6 years ago. Only after the deaths of several Jedi and a direct attack on their temple here on Coruscant, and after Chancellor Valorum called in many old favors and spent much of his influence, did they deploy the Judiciary Fleet.
And they wiped the floor with Inchuri in short order.
Harkosh Va growled in annoyance.
Had they deployed their fleets the moment those barbarians dared to strike at the member world, the entire uprising would have lasted less than a week.
The Republic is overly reliant on the Jedi Order, the Wanderer added. If there is a problem a senator doesn't want to deal with, they send the Jedi. He let out a dissatisfied noise. If there is a crisis, rather than solve it themselves, they send Jedi to do it for them, reaping the rewards if they succeed, and avoiding responsibility if they fail. Similar scenarios can be found all over the galaxy. Acts of brutality against innocent worlds, followed by complete inaction from the Senate. Outside of a few strong words and perhaps limited sanctions. Silent Tide said, tiredly, even though we have records proving Hutt involvement, they won't be enough. The Senate won't accept them as justification for an attack.
Then what about the anti-piracy and anti-slavery treaties?
Lina Voss asked.
That was one of the major goals of this council.
Do not fret, the Seeker said, waving a calming hand. There is enough support for those treaties in the Senate. The initial vote has already passed, and our supporters have a majority. His face darkened. Though not nearly as large as I expected. It's still more than enough, Silent Tide assured him. With the arrival of Messenger of Light and his team, we now have enough people to interact with and influence senators for the Republic to sign both treaties. The old Watercast smiled.
Thankfully, corruption is common in the Senate. It will take time and patience, but we shall soon have many strings to pull. These treaties are merely the beginning of the Tau establishing their presence and power here. Then,
Dane Marek looked around.
This council has achieved its task.
He turned to Lifesight.
I'm guessing this is the main reason you summoned everyone.
It is indeed. Lifesight nodded. Our work here is nearly done, and the Empire will soon need us elsewhere. That is why I wanted to discuss our next moves. They were all silent for a moment. The Elemental Council had operated for less than a month, but in that time they had come to know each other quite well, cooperating to achieve different tasks and reaching out to many people in power, be they politicians, industrialists, or criminals. As ambassador to the Republic, I will be staying here, Niatel announced. With my elevation to the rank of Poro, and the contacts I've already managed to establish, my path is clear. I will be representing the will of the Tau Empire here on Coruscant. No one was surprised. Niatel had worked harder than any of them in the last few weeks, and most of their achievements were thanks to her efforts. This was, after all, a diplomatic mission.
I'm staying here as well, for a while at least,
Forgemind said, leaning back in his chair and petting one of his small drones.
There is still much knowledge that needs to be gathered and analyzed. With the help of 100 eyes, he nodded toward MROI, I should be able to make great progress in identifying useful technologies for the Commonwealth to adopt.
The embassy will need pilots, Tor Eya said, making the sign of dutiful flight. I can be useful here. It will also allow me to help them away and analyzing the ships of this galaxy.
Your help would be welcome,
Forgemind said with a broad smile. A Lifesight nodded to all three, showing his approval, before turning to Ashenblade, already knowing what he intended.
Furious Ned,
Ashenblade stated simply.
When retaliation against those scum comes, I'm sure Furious Ned will be one of the mustering points. I will join the forces there and take part in the counteroffensive. Then you will have company,
Dane Marek announced.
The Herald of Prophet is in the same system, as is Our Lady. So, Lina and I will travel with you to Furious Ned so we can return to her service.
Lina nodded.
Yes. We won't be of much use here anymore, and knowing Our Lady, she will want to be part of whatever is coming.
On that we agree, a Lifesight said before turning to the Nikasar. What about you, old friend? The Wanderer hummed thoughtfully for a few seconds before answering.
The vision of a Shadow Point concerns me. It is still somewhat distant, but its approach is certain. I will return to my people, speak with others of my kind, and with the Psychers of the Commonwealth. After that, I will take my ship and travel among these new stars, he announced. There is much I do not yet understand about the Great Sea in this galaxy, but I will learn. Did you manage to figure out any more insight from your vision?
Dane asked.
Outside of the orcs being involved, that is.
Yes. Anything on those white-clad soldiers?
Lina asked.
The soldiers I saw resembled Mandalorians, but not exactly,
Sahara said in a measured tone.
There was something off about them. And there was also the matter of their armor being completely white. Colors have meaning in many cultures. To Mandalorians, white signifies a new beginning.
The council members weren't happy with that answer.
So, the Mandalorians you saw might not even exist yet,
Harkoshva said, irritation bleeding into his voice.
Not even that. The warriors who were being cut down were supposed to have white armor, but they didn't.
The Nikasar's voice lowered.
I cannot explain it. The image blurs the more I try to understand the true meaning behind it. That is why I need to speak with other Psychers. Perhaps they each hold another piece of a puzzle. Maybe we should ask an Eldar,
Dane proposed, leaning back in his chair.
I heard that some Corsairs finally revealed their presence. Who knows? Maybe they've got a Farseer or two to spare.
Unlikely, a Lifesight said, shaking his head. Farseers usually remain on craft worlds, and no craft world has been displaced into this galaxy. We are quite certain of that. He exhaled quietly. Besides, Even if relations between the Eldar and the Tau are generally cordial, I doubt they would go out of their way to help us.
Typical Eldar.
Ashenblade spat, anger sharp in his voice. On that note, this message must be carried to the wider galaxy, Lifesight said, glancing towards Silent Tide. Can I entrust you with this task? Of course, wise seeker, Silent Tide said with a respectful bow. Very well. Once I deem our work here complete, Harkozhva and I will travel to Tau itself, he announced. The Ethereal Council wishes to hear from me directly. They should have expected that. It was obvious someone of higher authority would demand a full account, but the fact that it was the Ethereal Council on the Empire's capital world itself was a surprise. Before anyone could comment, a soft chime echoed through the room, and a small drone flew inside. Apologies for the intrusion. High priority message coming through secure comm, the drone announced. The messenger is Prince Caesar of House Sishran. Silent Tide narrowed her eyes and turned to the seeker. They are Black Sun, she said, puzzled. Strange.
That is an understatement, Dane muttered, irritation sharpening his voice. They outright dismissed us the last time we tried to establish proper contact.
Maybe something changed,
Lina suggested. Perhaps it did, Lifesight said before giving Niatel a small nod. With a small gesture, she accepted the call. A second later, the holographic form of Prince Zizor shimmered into existence. The Faline noble sat upon an ornate throne, draped in elegant purple and gold robes that fit his form perfectly. His posture was relaxed, eyes focused, wearing a diplomat's pleasant smile. Yet Niatel caught the tiniest twitch of a facial muscle when he realized the entire Elemental Council was present.
Ah, esteemed representatives of the Tau Commonwealth, I bid thee welcome, he said warmly, voice of a gracious noble. I am pleased you accepted my call.
The pleasure is ours, Prince Zizor. Though I confess, I cannot guess the reason for this contact, Silent Tide replied. Our previous attempts to establish relations with Black Sun were rejected. One of Zizor's eyes twitched.
Since the tragic death of Black Sun's former leadership a few years ago, there have been certain disagreements among the Syndicate's remaining factions.
He offered a diplomatic smile.
However, I am not so short-sighted. I recognize the potential in cooperation between your empire and my organization. We have much to offer one another.
Lifesight stepped forward, gaze narrowing. Elaborate.
I would prefer to speak of details in person, but I understand you may require proof that such cooperation would be worthwhile.
He leaned back comfortably.
I can provide information about the one who attacked your colony, Ravax the Red.
The council members exchanged glances. Shizor's smile widened.
Oh yes, I know quite a lot about him,
the Faline said, pleased.
We were once partners, but let's just say there were disagreements.
His expression sharpened with predatory amusement, the charming scar on his face, a gift from me. It took considerable effort to locate a toxin capable of negating a Trandoshan's regenerative abilities, but then again, I am a man of considerable meanness. Niatel tilted her head slightly, intrigued. So you are offering information on Ravax? And his reavers, and his allies, Caesar confirmed smoothly. To start with, at least. He didn't bother to hide his smirk now that he sensed their interest. As for what I desire in return, he spread his hands. Simple. You seek to eliminate pirates and slavers. A particular rival of mine is both. He tarnishes the good name of Black Sun. Caesar said with a soft, amused chuckle. Removing him should be simple enough for you, especially considering that his primary base of operation lies in the same system where Ravax assembled his fleet before striking at your colony. He paused for effect. Rune. The council members exchanged looks again before turning their attention to Aunion and Niatel. The two shared a quick series of hand signs, subtle, practice, then faced Zizor's hologram once more. Very well. Where and when do you want to meet? Silent Tide asked, a small note of excitement hidden in her voice. The solar sailor drifted down, glittering in evening sun, cutting through smog of the factories. It touched the landing platform without a sound, graceful as a falling leaf. A tall, silver-haired man stepped out, cloak billowing slightly in the cold wind. His posture was perfectly straight, every movement radiating nobility, discipline, and the quiet confidence of one long accustomed to command. Count Dooku approached the lone hooded figure waiting at the platform's edge, a silhouette of absolute stillness, wrapped in shadow deeper than the night.
Welcome back, Darth Tyrannus.
Darth Sidious intoned, voice smoothed but edged with a rasp that hinted at something ancient and venomous. Greetings, my master. Dooku bowed his head with solemn respect. How may I serve you? Sidious remained silent. The air around him seemed to tighten, darken. His hood hid most of his face, but not the gleam of his golden, predatory eyes. Eyes that burned with a hatred so raw that even Dooku, seasoned by years at his side, felt a faint chill. At last, Sidious spoke.
The Tau, the Commonwealth.
He hissed, tasting the word as though it was a poison.
They are a danger to our plans, Lord Tyrannus. A danger that must be properly understood.
He turned away slightly, as though contemplating the sprawl of Coruscant below. Billions of beings who had no idea how close they stood to the abyss.
This great displacement, as they call it, has brought many unknown forces into our galaxy.
Sidious continued.
When I felt the disturbance in the Force, I anticipated many possibilities, but even I was momentarily speechless when I read the first reports.
As was I, Master, Dooku admitted, folding his hands behind his back. Such an event defines all known principles. Entire civilizations uprooted and flung across reality. It is beyond comprehension.
Sidious's mouth twisted, and yet it happened. And so we adapt. His voice hardened, becoming the Durasteel core beneath all his deception. The grand plan must shift, evolve, consume this new obstacle. We cannot allow the Tau to disrupt our designs.
Dooku bowed slightly.
I await your command.
First, Sidious said, we must ensure Kamino remains hidden. Knowledge of their existence must never reach the Commonwealth. Send your agents, silence every whisper, erase every record. If necessary, eliminate those who know too much.
It will be done, my lord,
Dooku said. Then, after taking a breath,
but what of the Tau themselves? Should we not move to destroy them before they entrench themselves?
Sidious gave a low, humorless chuckle.
I do not believe they can be quickly eliminated. Their capabilities surpass the rubble of this galaxy. Too many surprises, too many unknowns.
His smile sharpened like a blade.
But they can be maneuvered, misled, weakened.
Dooku raised an eyebrow.
How so?
They seek war with the Hutts,
Sidious replied.
The fools.
The Hutts? Dooku blinked. I knew the Commonwealth intended to hunt pirates and slavers, but to challenge the Hutt cartel itself? No one has dared wage open war against them for millennia.
And yet the Tau intend precisely that.
Sidious' smile widened.
And I intend to let them, to encourage them. A large-scale conflict will drain both sides. And, more importantly, it will help accelerate the Republic's remilitarization.
He circled Dooku slowly, like a serpent tasting the air.
Our friends at Quad Drive Yards have already begun expanding their production lines. I am told they intend to design a vessel that will eclipse the Mandator 1 class, and even these Tau warships.
Dooku nodded thoughtfully. I see. A perfect opportunity to rebuild the Republic's martial strength under our guidance.
Precisely.
But, Dooku added, I believe we can weaken the Tau even further.
Sidious stopped behind him.
Speak, Lord Tyrannus.
My contacts in the Trade Federation and Techno-Union report growing concern among Outer Rim corporations. The Tau's efficiency, structure, and rapid economic influence threaten their power bases. I believe we can encourage these corporations to exert pressure, disrupt Tau supply lines, undermine their trade, perhaps even provoke low-level conflicts.
Sidious's smile grew wide
and wicked.
Yes, good, very good. You've seen the board clearly, my apprentice.
The dark side coiled around the Sith Master like a smoke. We shall set greed upon idealism, fear upon trust, crime upon diplomacy, and all the while the Republic marches towards the war we have designed.
Sidious turned toward the turbolift, cloak swirling like a shadow, unbound from its owner.
Come, Darth Tyrannus, let us discuss the finer details and decide how best to use these naive newcomers to further our grand design.
Dooku followed, bolts echoing against the Durasteel platform, as the two Sith walked into the darkness. And that was episode 11, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Introducing Prince Caesar as an important character should be fun for old Star Wars fans, as the reveal that one of Ravak's bases is located on Scarif, planet we know quite well from Rogue One. Now, I would like to thank two people who voiced my characters in this episode. Tia Boba, also known as Luffy, who picked up the role of Lina Voss, the young psyker in service of Blackthorn Dynasty, as well as Chaosmancer 55, known also as Ultrasound 7, who gave his voice to Taimal, the Serene Spider, the creepy watercast interrogator. Thank you very much. I also extend my thanks to the artists 3D Vincents, Hayden Lumpkin, Kubik Kuratko and Makawi for providing amazing art for my series. If you want me to commission more art, donate some money through Ko-fi. Frankly, the budget is almost completely spent, so if you can donate even $1 or $2, it will help out immensely. Now to other matters. As I've mentioned before, I began working as a postman, which is both fun and challenging. Getting used to new hours and schedule. Will do my best to keep posting fun content. Expect more than a few shorts related to Star Wars x Warhammer 40k series, where I hope to expand the background information of what is happening in the galaxy. But I also intend to try my hand with short videos under 20 minutes. As you probably know, when I start talking, I struggle to stop, and short scripts usually end up as half-hour videos. Well, I will try my hand with making things more condensed in the future. As per vote by my Patreon supporters, the next video I will make will be what if the Tau Empire came into existence much earlier during the Age of Strife? Which should be fun and could be the start of those under 15-minute long videos. If you want to get voting power and support me directly, join my Patreon supporters. The $1 tier gives you voting power, while $3 grants you early access to videos. 6.66 tier, early access to scripts, and $12 tier gives you everything below and nothing else. Because it's a tier for those who want to donate a little extra to my livelihood. For me, even that $1 more a month means a lot. I don't work full-time, but with YouTube and current level of support, I do earn around minimal wage, so that's already a success in my book. But I won't complain if I get a bit more. Another thing, I mostly figured out the rules the next homebrew season, and you can expect the announcement soon. There will be a limited number of homebrews that can be accepted, and the Patreon supporters will get priority. There will also be a holiday discount throughout the entirety of December, so I hope this will encourage more of you to become my patrons. Next, Q&A. You know the rules. 1 question per person, put Q&A on top of a comment, and if I decide I want to answer it, I will. Just try not to push for spoilers too much. I prefer to keep things quiet in this regard. I kept the presence of Eldar and Orcs a secret for a reason. However, there is one more thing. Because I'm making shorts, I believe there is much that can be explored. So you can post under this video specifically a dedicated comment with short idea at the top, where you can type out your idea for a short connected to the series. If you are lucky, your idea can end up as part of wider world building of a series. I can't wait to see what you will put in the comments. And of course, like, subscribe and ring that bell. But I think that's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed. Now, my dear viewers and listeners, remember, wherever you are, whatever you do, try to enjoy yourself. While you can, I wish you most heretical day. Ta-ta!